with that, we're having quite a bit of fun, and I'd like to talk to you now about the real essence of storytelling. And storytelling is what we are all here for, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you the two gentlemen who are going to change from LA to Tel Aviv the whole essence of storytelling and mobile, and talk to us about the world of mobile entertainment. I'd like to introduce to you Peter Adderton and Peter Guber from Mandalay Entertainment and Mandalay Digital. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us today.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. I want to introduce Peter Addison to you. He is the CEO of Mandalay Digital Group. It's a public company of which myself and Rob Ellen are involved very heavily. He's founded Boost Mobile in 2000, and it reached over $2 billion in revenues and over 5 million subscribers. He was executive producer of a show that actually moved from one platform to the other, which is an act of daring do in this world. He's consulted with some of the largest wireless companies, including Qualcomm and Best Buy and Clearwire, and his work at Qualcomm led to your acquisition and involvement with Digital Turbine. He founded Skycrest Ventures, and he was an early investor in Break.com, and he ignited John Feldheimer into making an investment, and that's an act of daring do too. He was an early investor in Swipe, and it sold for $100 million to Nuance, and he recently invested in Local Response, a new local ad platform with clients including McDonald's, Coke, Audi, and GM.
Thanks very much, Peter. Well, first of all, thank you, everybody, for inviting us here. I've got the privilege of introducing Peter. I've known Peter for a little while now. As I said, I'm running one of the companies that he's involved in, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So I'm going to do my best to introduce Peter, but I know a lot of you know him, so if I do a pretty half-hearted job at it, you can forgive me and just go to Wikipedia and you'll find very quickly how important Peter is. So Peter was the CEO and chairman. He's the CEO of chairman. I almost quit you there, Peter, of Mandalay Entertainment Group. Prior to that, Peter was the chairman and CEO of Sony Pictures Entertainment. So I want to read this so I get it all right. And the chairman and CEO of Polygram Entertainment, co-founder of Casablanca Records, Filmworks, president of Columbia Pictures. Peter's been involved and has produced and executive produced incredible films such as, and also has been nominated for, a film has actually garnered 5 Best Academy Award nominations, winning for Rain Man. The box office hits include The Color Purple, Midnight Express, Batman, Flashdance, The Kids Are Alright, and recently Soul Surfer. Peter's also the co-owner and co-executive of an NBA franchise called the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, I mean, deserves it. Congratulations. I think the next one being I'm an Australian, as you can tell, but obviously based here in LA, is the co-owner of Los Angeles Dodgers, which is a storied Major League Baseball team in this country. So well done there. And obviously led by Guggenheim Baseball Management and Magic Johnson and Stan Kasten. Peter is also co-chairman of the company that I run. I will tell you just a very, very quick story. Also has written many, many books. My wife and I were lucky enough to go to Peter's house, and she was walking through his office, and he has all these movies that he's done, and my wife's like, look at his DVD collection. And I'm like, honey, that's not his DVD collection. That's the movies he actually has been involved in. And she goes, well, I'd hate to see his movie collection. So I know it's pretty impressive. So that's the introduction to Peter Guber.
Thank you. There's a white elephant in the room. It's that mobile content is exploding for everyone but the carriers. And we've had numerous discussions, you, I, Rob, bunches of them. And you really have a unique viewpoint on that. Could you just give us a couple of minutes and tell us what you see as the conundrum facing people involved in this space?
Well, I think we've got to go back and look at the history of mobile and how it's emerged and where we are today. I still don't think the race is over. I mean, obviously people are talking about Apple and Android being the dominant systems. And I want to make sure that we dissimulate between an operating system and a marketplace. And I think a lot of times people get confused between what is an operating system. And those who've been in the mobile wireless space for a while know about Java and Brew and know about the OSs that have been operating our handsets. And the carrier's basically been doing all the on deck. It's been a very closed walled garden. And consumers don't want walled gardens. And what happened was the consumer moved ahead of the carrier, and Google and Apple were there to pick up that movement, and they ran with it because they're consumer-focused, experience-focused companies, where the carriers were left behind. And I know that those who've worked with carriers, it takes 6 months to get an NDA signed. And we all know that in 6 months, the world's moved on, and you can't operate that way. So I think a lot of what has happened has literally been driven by the carriers not being able to get up to speed with it. And that's really driven us to where we are today, where you've got these two emerging platforms. I still believe the carriers have a role. You know, it's funny, we talked about Facebook, and a lot of these guys are struggling to understand how mobile works. and how the advertising works on mobile. And from my perspective, I sit back and, Facebook's got 900 million squatters, right? They're sitting on a site, and now they move to mobile, and we all know what happens when you start charging squatters money. They move to the next free platform. So I think there's some real challenges, and you and I talked about this before. There's some real challenges. Carriers have struggled to make money outside of minutes, megabytes, and text messaging for the last 20 years. So there's an ecosystem there, and we talked about how big that will be, but I think we've still got a lot of challenges as we move forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fire a question across to you, Peter, because one of the things that's important to us is the content, the emergence of content and media at Mandalay Digital. So I guess the question I've got for you is, what makes digital mobile space in terms of entertainment different to other screens?
Well, yeah, the way I look at it is this way. You look at the people that use a mobile phone. A mobile instrument is like a Swiss Army knife. Aki Morita, who I worked for, founder and visionary at Sony, said, look, we can make a toaster that's a refrigerator, that's an ice maker. We can do it all in one instrument, but people don't want that. They want different instruments. They don't want all those things. But the mobile phone, that electronic device, breaks that model. Because if you think about that, this is the one device that people are not habituated to, addicted to. You gentlemen and you ladies, when you leave your house at 8:15 in the morning, wherever you are in Israel or here, and you drive down the street 10 years ago, and you forgot your wallet, you think, don't worry, I'll get my secretary to borrow the money. I know they know me at the restaurant, not a problem. Today you leave home, you pat your rear end, you pat here. If you don't got the thing here, what is it? Your mobile phone, you know what you do? You turn around and go back and get it. You're addicted to it. You don't think you're addicted to it? Go to any restaurant and see what's in their hand. Go to everybody walking along the street. Go to anybody doing anything in any way which is even disruptive of what they're doing. Driving a car, you see them texting. In the movie theater, that glow that used to be the cigarettes growing up in the movie theater is texting or emailing or talking on the phone. Even at my stadiums, which I'll mention later. So it tells you something about this instrument. It is not an instrument like a piece of plastic and silicon. It is actually an ego instrument. You wear it as a feature. Think about it. It's like the watch now. The watch is going to disappear. Your kids at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 aren't going to be wearing these things. These will be in the antique department. Everything is going to be in that. And think about this instrument. It's so unique. It's got your emotional content in it, your family pictures. It's got your financial information. It's the connection to everybody you like. It's the way you connect socially. It's every one of those things. Why would you leave home without it? So it's a unique instrument. And so what's unique about the content is this. The content and the advertising have to have emotional transportation, because that's the way you hold this thing. You don't hold it as an intellectual data dump. You hold it as an emotional instrument. So the integration of that advertising and the content on it have to create that emotional transportation, which is synchronous and congruent with the nature of the instrument. I think that's the difference.
I'm going to keep you on a roll there, Peter, because you're flying along, so we don't want to slow down the momentum. But the one question that you and I talked about, which I thought was really important, I know there's advertisers, and this is the kind of white elephant of how do you advertise on this platform? So I think it was a really good question. Do advertisers on mobile have a different strategy around integration for professional entertainment content? So how is advertising going to work in a mobile environment? Because I don't know whether it works or it doesn't work. We don't know yet, but how does it work?
Well, that's the real question. We haven't really seen it work. We've seen it working, and everybody's desperate to be where it is, because really what happens is this instrument has your attention. That's the first thing. It gets your attention. But does it have your intention? And that's what advertisers want. They want your intention to transact. So if advertisers have to realize that these people using this, if they think of them as customers, they're aiming for their wallet. They're skunked. They got to aim for their heart. They got to think of them as audiences. This is where hits are born. They're not born at the wallet, and they're not born at the head. They're born right here. I know that all my business, movies, television, they're born here. So the idea is, how do you integrate that advertising? How do you integrate that call to action into the content in a unique way? If it's just a little banner at the top, that's what they're trying to do, a little piece at the bottom, what happens is your reticular activating system, this is the part of your brain, you don't focus on things. The way it works is it deletes things. It deletes that. It's like the Coca-Cola bottle in the middle of a scene. The company used to put millions of dollars to have the Coca-Cola bottle in A Few Good Men, in the movie we made, in the middle of the table. Nobody ever notices it. Right in the middle. But if you're driving a Mini Cooper, Italian Job, or those movies, you're driving a Mini Cooper, you can build a business because it's integrated into the emotional experience. So the trick is, how do you do that? Right now, it's little banner ads. You drop them off. If it's at the front, you know how disruptive and how uncomfortable it is for the ADD people, all of us who were habituated to that instrument, to watch a 20-second ad about Pampers when you're ready to get some piece of content you want? It's aggravating. It actually creates a negative about the product because it has no real relationship into what's in it for them. And that's the key. That's the key. So it's not only disruptive, it averts attention. You don't even get to intention. You get to anger. And you can't block it out. You can't cross it out. You're forced to watch it. So it's very important to find the methodology to integrate those two pieces.
Yeah, I think that's one of the struggles that we see a lot of people going through right now. And then we also got to throw in the role there. The difference with mobile that we find is that it still needs a carrier's pipe. The carrier still has to have some relevance in that, and be it in the ad platform or be in the app store. The carriers kind of got out of that business, and everyone asks me, why are the carriers getting out of the on-deck business? Why are they getting out of the content business? And I kind of tell them they didn't get out of it by choice. This is not a strategic decision that a bunch of carriers got around and said, let's get out of this business. They got out of it because they couldn't keep the consumer interested and they couldn't keep the user. And I think for the first time ever in mobile, the user actually started to dictate, but prior to that, it was always like you get a silver clam, you get insurance, and you got to get a rate plan. And the carrier could dictate that. In fact, the most important person in the carrier's business was the guy who was purchasing the handsets. And now it's moved. And it's now moved on to, I want my operating system. And I can tell you, I've been in the business for a long, long time. I would never have thought that a user was going to drive into a Verizon or a Sprint store and ask for an operating system on a phone. I want an Android device. And that's really what's changed the marketplace and changed the dynamic. So our strategy is at Mandalay Digital is that the carriers do have a role. We need to engage them back in that role. One of our acquisitions, which we announced, which is the Logia Group out of Israel, which I guess is why we're here. We have a link to Israel. Is that we think that they are the start, those companies at the start of us being able to roll up an incredible platform that we're building. And if we can re-engage the carriers back in to the game and show them how, and again, I'm a big believer in outsourcing. I think a carrier should start to outsource. Whenever you're over and above your head, bring in the people that know how to do it, and I think the carriers are acknowledging that now. So our business at Digital Turbine, which we founded and my work at Qualcomm, is really starting to set the world alight. And you and I are talking a little bit about this. We launched the Digital Turbine platform. For those who don't know what that is, it literally is a system, a platform that rides over the top of Android and BlackBerry and Windows operating system. It gives the carriers back their lost control. It's a great user experience. It's friendly. It's easy to use. And I want to give you guys just a little bit of results. For those who know about the on-deck business, you know that it literally is dying. Anyone who's involved in mobile content would know that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, people would get $200 million valuations for their companies because they somehow got on the Verizon deck or they're on the Sprint deck. Nowadays, if you say you're on Verizon and Sprint, your $200 million valuations now too. And if you're on Apple or you're on Android, off deck, you're suddenly now worth $1 billion, which is still a struggle to most of us, but you're now worth a lot of money. So we sit back and said, if we can engage the carriers back in that, they've got a billing system, which is really easy. So we did this, and we launched this down in a test in Australia, and the results have been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal for the carrier. In fact, the carrier can't believe that by putting on a user experience and linking their content back to our user experience, we've had a 200% increase in content purchasing. And as you know, most content apps are free. 200% increase in content purchasing. We're only 6% of the base now, but we're somewhere around 15% of their content purchasing. So the carriers are starting to see with our platform that if you engage the user and you bring the user back an experience that they're used to, and we've got some tricks in there which we think makes it really unique, you'll bring them back into the fray. So my attitude is the race isn't over. It's a two-horse race, and of course it's going to be a trifecta, so you can have your money on Apple and on Android. But I think there's going to be 3 or 4 other players that come in for these niche value markets. Not everyone can afford an iPhone, not everyone can afford an Android device. So I think that as we go out and blow it up, and that's what we did with Boost, I think we really will be able to build something special. I want to ask you one question. Obviously, you're hugely focused in sports. We've all been to arenas, and we all see the big screen, and we all see the technology that exists. But when you walk into an arena, you literally go to 1985. So as a team owner and a stadium owner, how do you see that evolving, and how do you see technology and mobile evolving to make the sporting experience at the venue far better than it is today?
That's a really important question. And if you go to Dodger Stadium, we had 51,000 people 2 nights ago there, and 49,000 came in with 75% with smartphones and 25% with feature phones, and you couldn't make a call. Forget the data. Forget the analytics. couldn't make a call. So they all come in with this instrument that they're addicted to, that they use, that they have out, and you give them no offer. You don't give them any content. Worse yet, you don't even know who's in your seats. You don't even know who's there. So what is the promise of mobile in location-based entertainment? What is the real promise? And that's the key. The promise is to connect with your audience in a unique way and stay connected before they go to the event, at the event, and when they leave. Different types of connecting. So you connect by thinking about what could you do with this instrument that would change the game completely? Well, 3 things. Fans are fanatics. They believe they make a difference at a soccer game, a football game, a basketball game, a baseball game. They believe being there makes a difference. You can do shout-outs. You can connect with them. You can ignite them. You can have them do one very, very important thing that no other instrument can do. You can make them participants, not passengers. You can make them participate. They can socially participate with the people in the arena. They can socially participate with their family and friends at home in real time at the same time. We're at the beginning of that. But most of these places are like 18th Century Fox. They don't have good antenna array systems. They have no way of really accessing the mobile content. They don't even have a digitally fit organization. I mean, what good is a technology if your organization isn't digitally fit? They don't understand the vernacular. They don't understand the intention of the product. And they don't know how to tailor it to that audience. That's the key. When it works, here's what it'll look like. You'll come to the arena, the stadium, anywhere in the world. And before you go there, you'll be on almost like an Ethernet. You'll already be getting the information and value proposition from the arena, from the team, and from the players, an integrated system. You'll be getting at them. You'll already be participating before you get there. There'll be a value proposition while you're waiting. Think about Disney, how they built that. The pre-programmed show where you stand in line. They want you to have that story unfolding before you go to the 3-minute thing you stood in line for an hour and 20 minutes. So the idea is the same. You create the experience from the moment, not your customer, your audience has made an intention of going to that game. Make that investment. Then you're going to have no more, like the airlines, no more paper tickets. No more paper tickets. It's going to be literally a paperless thing. Why is that important? Do you know that when, like in my arena in San Francisco, we have almost 20,000 people there. When the Knicks played there were 7,000 Knicks fans. We didn't even know who they were. We didn't know who sold their tickets. We didn't know who paid forward. When people arbitrage their tickets, we don't know who's there. The best people we can sell to are the people there. We don't know who they are. So we don't know who's coming through our gate. What could it mean? Parking is a terrible problem. You have a mobile phone. You can read your phone as you go through. You can go zip right through. You can have assigned parking space, and they can know whether you're really there, all with a mobile device. You get inside the arena, you can get all kinds of special offers for merchandise. You don't have to get out of your seat that you pay $225 for, spend 10 minutes trying to get upstairs to a concession stand, wait 15 minutes for the food, and miss half the game. You can order it, and you don't get rotator cuff injury. You can pay and transact immediately. This is the injury you go when you go like this every time you go to the game. So now, like the casino in Las Vegas, it's all set up, and you know the analytics and data. It actually is not an evolutionary instrument for location-based entertainment. It is a revolutionary instrument. And it goes after they leave. It's being able to bit-link your information to your other fans and family, let them participate in the experience, let them see you there. It's going to be an amazing thing. The problem is, not most organizations are not digitally fit. Most organizations don't have a chief technology officer that they can set up the system so that it works. And most of the people don't understand that the content has to be basically different. Think about this. One last point. Anybody here go to Dallas Stadium? Anybody go to the Dallas Cowboy Stadium? 44%, there's a screen in the middle of Dallas Stadium. It is enormous. It's like nothing you've ever seen. I promise, nothing you've ever seen. It's that big. It's a 100,000-seat stadium. 44% of the people are watching the game on the screen. No, that's a scary thing. It's not funny. It's very frightening. Because somebody's going to say to themselves, wait a minute, why am I watching? I'll go home. I'll save my $400 for my ticket and I'll watch it at home. Programming, whatever you do on content or in visual media, is crucial in location-based entertainment. You don't want to have a barbecue with a milk cow. That stadium's the milk cow. Once they see they can get it somewhere else, you're going to lose them. So you can use other material on there. You can do replays. You can do other kinds of things. You can stream Twitter. All kinds of things that tie with mobile phones and other kinds of devices. But it's a cautionary tale. That audience has to be very well inculcated with the way these mobile tools are going to play in their benefit for advertisers, for owners of teams, for the players themselves who have their own brand, for the community, and for the fan himself.
We'd like to, just so you know, Peter's sitting here while the whole Dodgers team's waiting for him down at the stadium.
I'm going.
He really needs to go.
Thank
so
you.
I want to thank Peter.